You're listening to The Rack Show on VoxVii.com. Join Conrad.
Compared to a lot of other people, I'm very weak, but I'm super plucky, so I try.
And Lucas.
I call upon chaos spirits to grant death.
And Lucas missed.
I did not miss. That bunk bed, dead.
As they take geek culture off the shelf and show it to you.
It still looks goofy from the outside.
But it's so fun that you don't care.
You don't care.
The Rack Show. Geek culture at its best.
Hello, welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of TheRackShow.com. I'm here with Michael Wiggins and Russ
Van Ness.
I always forget that last part. We're going to do a con show wrap-up because we did 2 cons this weekend, and I and Russ went to the MidWest Media Expo here in Detroit, Michigan, which was excellent. And Michael, where did you go?
I was held in prison in Ohio at Steampunk Symposium.
That sounds awesome. So look forward to that too on the show. There is a sub-episode right before this, so be sure to check that out. It was only 15 minutes and it was done live in front of an audience at the Midwest Media Expo. Conrad is not here today, but he is on that sub-episode, so check it out if you miss Conrad for all his fans out there.
So how good is the sub? Is he Conrad?
Who?
Conrad.
Conrad's on the sub? It was a sub-episode. It was only 15 minutes. We had to cut it short because the show in front of us ran too long and the other show needed to start earlier. So we're like, we'll do a short episode and that's cool. It was awesome.
I didn't do it because I didn't say it would be pretty.
No, yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna pass it off to Russ. What'd you think about the show this weekend, the convention?
Man, it was a good time. It was a first year convention, although it was put on by people that have a lot of experience putting UmaCon together and running UmaCon. I worked on the guest relations staff. I was the assistant department head of guest relations, and it was great. The guests were all really very fun and great people. There were no real problems, no real big ones anyway. Little things.
What kind of guests did we have this year?
A number of voice actors, a bunch of voice actors and actresses that have worked in a lot of anime and video games. I wish I had the list in front of me.
I'll tell you, my favorite one was Tia Ballard.
Tia Ballard, she was so sweet.
She was awesome.
She was really, really just a nice woman. Nice young woman. We had John St. John, who's the voice of Duke Nukem.
We had,
that was a big deal.
We had the voice of GLaDOS.
The voice of GLaDOS. Yeah, she was an extremely nice lady.
She's very cool.
Yeah. She actually was, it was funny, Voltaire, we had Aurelio Voltaire was there. And he's pretty well known within the goth and steampunk communities, and is a well-known performer. He saw the woman who plays GLaDOS, and he geeked out. Like, he fanboyed out completely. It was so funny watching him from a distance, like, just so excited to meet her, and he took a selfie with her and everything. I'm just like, oh my God, Voltaire is geeking out on all over GLaDOS. I think we should get her a towel. It was really ridiculous. But
my other favorite guy was Andre Meadows. He's a YouTuber, a very famous YouTuber, also known as Black Nerd Comedy.
Yeah.
And I've always been a big fan of his, and I was surprised to see him there. And Conrad actually had introduced me. He ran into him. He's like, you know who's up here? Andre Meadows. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. I just dropped everything I was doing, and Andre sat and talked to me. He's like, you know what, Lucas, I want to do something with us. I could do something with you later on today. So I put together a spur of the moment celebrity Halo tournament. So it was awesome. A bunch of us guests versus a bunch of attendees, and a bunch of attendees sort of rocked our world in Halo.
Course.
It was I believe it was a 10, a 12, and a 14-year-old.
Figures.
Kicked me, Conrad, Andre Vortek, and Vortek was actually really good at this. He's like, I don't know how to play video games, and he's just shooting everybody.
Of course.
And a person from Silly Philly Studios, Jax. But yeah, we got rocked. 3 games in a row, got rocked.
It was really funny, actually, in the closing ceremonies, Andre went up on stage and was talking about he'd never been to Detroit before. He was thankful he hadn't gotten shot. And one of the guest relations guys, young black guy, jumped up on stage and held his, gun to his head, his toy gun to his head and stuff. Toy gun to his head, and Andre was really great about it. Made it a whole thing. And everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely liked it.
Yeah.
They're going to do it again.
Yeah. They definitely, it was successful enough. Actually, our numbers were higher than they had anticipated. So that was, they were really happy about that. I think we had about 2,200 people, registered, and, between all the pre-regis and people that showed up. I mean, considering the fact that it was at the Rensen here in Detroit, there was a lot of space to fill, and it almost always looked pretty busy. It was pretty good. I mean, it helps to have some big guests like Steam Powered Giraffe and Voltaire, and then some of the other the guys from Star Trek Continues, a popular web series.
Team 4-Star was there.
Team 4-Star.
Silly Philly Studios, who do the brony videos.
Yeah.
Which I totally had to learn about this weekend. It's a whole nother subculture in geekdom, and they gave me the 411 on what a brony is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was interesting.
One of those parts of fandom that some of us don't really want to talk about. But, but they were, honestly, the Silly Philly people were really nice. And they actually don't even like to refer to themselves as bronies anymore, I guess, from what they were saying. But yeah, all in all, a good con, and everybody was like, they're just, one of the big, main things that people were saying was that it didn't feel like a first year con.
It didn't, at all.
That it really, it was just, it felt like they've been doing this for a long time, which made sense because it's all the Umicon people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It was put on by Morgan and, the people that do Umicon.
One of my favorite panels there was the very first night, and this is a tradition, I guess, at Umicon, is they play Cards Against Humanity. They get all the guests, so all the celebrity guests together on a panel, and they do a fun game of Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
And since this panel is mostly voice actors,
right,
it is the most surreal thing you will ever watch. And in the end, GLaDOS won.
Did she really?
Yeah, I keep forgetting her name. I apologize that.
Yeah.
But GLaDOS won in the end, and that was absolutely amazing.
That was really funny. They also, another really funny thing, that we had 3 alt models from the Cosplay Deviants group, and they were there, and really 3 lovely young women, and they did a lot of the more 18 and up kind of stuff. But one of the things they did was let's dub hentai, or let's overdub hentai, or something like that. And I was actually in the room right next to where the podcast was going on. It was easily one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time, where they put some clips from really, really graphic hentai up on a screen, and then would pull people up out of the audience whose line is it anyway? And they would dub over it, and it was hysterical. It was naughty and ridiculous, but it was
They also
hysterical.
did, on the first night, a burlesque show.
Yeah, they did burlesque. I was actually directly involved with getting that set up, because unfortunately it had been kind of thrown together, and we needed to fill 90 minutes, and we had basically 10 minutes of material. And so we were like, oh crap, what do we do? And so we were able to make a couple of phone calls to some local burlesque performers. We had Kitty Page and Luscious Limone, Lorelei Sky, and we brought them in, and then another girl that was a friend of some of the other performers happened to be at the con, and she volunteered to perform. And then we got Michael Shea, who hosted the event, also had this brilliant idea. It was so funny.
I love this.
To have the amateur burlesque competition. So that filled a good 25 to 30 minutes. So we just pulled people up out of the audience, and they shook what the gods gave them. And it was hysterical. Absolutely awesome and hysterical. And I am sure we will do that again next year, because it was just, hopefully we'll actually have prizes, because it was so funny. Oh man, there were some people that just, I gotta give them credit, just got up there and moved, they just didn't care. There was this one woman, she's a rather obese, black lady that got up on stage, and she was awesome. I would have loved to have her have won, but just cause she was just, mad props to the person.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can follow Midwest Media Expo at MidwestMediaExpo.com to see when their registration opens again for next spring, right?
Yeah, and to see what further guests and new guests we'll have. I'm sure we're going to probably have some of the same guests. Many of the guests expressed interest in coming back again next year, And, I mean, really just take a look at the website because we're not even touching on half of the guests that were there. There were quite a few and, some very nerd specific ones too. Like there was some, I looked at the guest list and I'm a pretty big nerd myself and I was like, these are a little more like specific in certain genres, but
like Silly Philly.
like the Silly Philly guys and stuff.
I had to figure that one out.
Yeah. But once I got in there and went, oh yeah, I've seen that guy's, web show and they've seen their stuff. And yeah, so, check it out. Take a look. And, it was a really good time, good for, 5 days for me, but good 3-day con.
3 days for me.
Yeah.
Michael Wiggins. What? Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. We're going to bring you into the conversation now.
Mikey.
You went to a con by yourself.
Yes, nobody loved me.
Yeah, sorry. And introduce the con you were at.
It's called Steampunk Symposium. This is the third year that it's gone on in Cincinnati, Ohio. And it's technically the third hotel it's been at. Because the hotel they started at went into remodeling after they were done. So they went to a second hotel. The second hotel decided to remodel right after they were there. So they went back to the original hotel. They had about just over 600 people. So it wasn't bad. There was tea dueling, barista, which is cane fighting, and a gentleman's league martial arts. Anastasia and Chris Thomas were paired up against each other with cane fighting. Anastasia's about 4.5 feet. Chris is 6'6".
Yeah.
Now that you have that, put canes in their hands and imagine them fighting. I tried to ask Chris if he won. He went, well, it was really practice. I'm like, you lost, didn't you?
Yeah.
You lost. That's what you did. So there was dirigible races.
But how do they do that?
They build their own dirigibles that float and are motorized, and they race them.
That sounds cool.
Because a lot of the things with steampunk is there's airship crews. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there are crew competitions. Like last year they had a tandem corset tying competition. And all the ladies, well, the three of them, I think you said, listen to your podcast, know that a corset has to be tied from the back. Well, they had 3 people in a row, and they were tying them all at the same time because they wear them enough that they're like, okay, we can do this. So yeah, they won that. And there's the best functional steampunk award, best fictional gun prop award, bunch of different awards, bunch of different airship crews from all over. It's actually hosted by Aloysius Fox from the Pandora Society in Ohio, and he's actually English.
Oh, very cool.
So it's funny when he's talking and being the MC and everything else. And yes, my accent is real, right? And then he forgot that he had a guest of honor that was from Europe. And he went, hey! He was like, all right.
Yeah, you too. Now wait, you said a tandem corset tying competition. What about a tandem corset untying competition?
I believe that was the after hours.
That would be the after hours part?
Yes.
See, that'd be what I'd be, personally.
So all in all, good time?
Yes. A lot of the people that go down to Cincy, because it's only a 4.5 hour drive from Detroit, they have a lot of our Detroit contingencies down there. Met a bunch of new people, met 2 tea ladies from Denver, went, oh, you should talk to my friend in Denver, since you're not coming up, because they can't come up to Steamtopia, because that's when the Denver Comic-Con is. Our friend Elizabeth from a shall not be named hattery was having too much fun showing newbies to steampunk photos and videos when she was attacked by a group of furries.
Oh.
She went, these are furries.
That's always traumatic. That's always a traumatic experience.
Now explain what a furry is for our audience who does not know. In the most PG way possible.
There's different levels of furrydom from what I understand.
And some of them involve latex too.
Yes, yeah. I mean, a furry is basically a person, a fan that likes to dress up in what is essentially a mascot costume. What you might have seen like a fox or a tiger or whatever. And so it's the full furry body with a
paper-mache head?
I wouldn't say paper-mache. No, it's more of a full, almost a puppetry head. Because some of them have moving eyes and mouths, and some of them are actually really complex. But yeah, they look like a walking, talking, living cartoon. Kind of like a Disney character or something like the Disney parks. But, and then sometimes, so that's like the serious, holy crap, hold the phone, I'm not kidding around kind of furry. And then there's like lower levels where they're just wearing ears and tails, or maybe they're just wearing the sleeves with big paws on and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the furries are taken into a much more further level where it's a sexual thing, and they've got like their furry costume has openings in them.
Interesting.
To be semi-anatomical.
Yeah, and often sometimes they're semi-anatomically correct.
What level of furry did we have to deal with, or did you have to deal with over there?
None.
Oh, okay.
There weren't any there.
There were a number of furries at the Midwest Media Expo. I mean, actually, there was something that we didn't mention at all, is a lot of cosplay.
A lot of cosplay.
There
some
was
great cosplay.
Some really fantastic cosplay. There was one of the more impressive ones. There's a large group of robots for the Steam Powered Giraffe, and apparently one of the cool things about them is they're not just cosplaying the three characters in Steam Powered Giraffe. They're making up their own robots that go with the whole backstory and stuff that they have with the groups.
You know what else I noticed? A lot of Deadpools.
There was at least a half dozen Deadpools.
Yeah. More than a half dozen, easily.
Steampunk Deadpool? That's cool, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of superheroes. There were a ton of anime characters. I mean, I think that was probably the biggest. Oh yeah, the biggest contingent.
Well, that being it was backed by the Yumacon.
Yeah,
people,
I mean, people were calling it Yumacon Junior.
Yes, they were.
You know, so and for those of you that don't know, Yumacon is one of the first and largest anime anime cons in the country. So anime
and it also happens here in Detroit
at the same hotel.
Yeah,
in Coble Hall.
But it's also really big into video games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
huge video game room, which is my favorite part.
Oh my god. Yeah, the video game room at I walked into it, and I have actually never been to Yumacon. I've never been a big fan of anime, so I've always kind of avoided it. And I walked into the gaming room at Midwest Media and went, "Holy smokes. There was everything in there. They had retro gaming, they had old gaming consoles from like that. They had an Atari 2600 set up. They had Nintendos and Sega Genesises and Genesis, whatever. And I mean, they had Dreamcasts, and then they had PS4s and Xbox Ones and
Dance Revolution. A lot of music.
Mm-hmm.
Beat machines.
Yep, they had some imported Japanese or Asian stand-up video games where you like the drum one that you do, the rhythm game. And
then they had a large group of PCs just to play League of Legends, or like how we did. We played Halo Combat Evolved, the first one. There's some other games you can play on there. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's all...
The wild thing is they said that was like a third of what they bring out for Yumacon.
It is.
That was nothing.
Yumacons huge. Their video game room is so big.
That's the only one I grew up with. Pong?
They might have Pong.
They didn't have
I don't know.
I don't think they got that.
I'm old. That's the only one.
I bet if you ask Morgan, they could get it.
I'll bet you they could.
The original one.
Find an original Pong console.
Those they could probably go for like $1 million now.
No.
But yeah, $5. Take this.
Yeah, just take it from us.
The thing to note is that you can sit down at any of these. It doesn't take tokens.
Yeah,
as long as you get a ticket.
Yeah, as long as you pay for the convention.
The whole arcade room is absolutely free. You just walk up if it's empty and you play.
And the cool thing, there was enough that there really wasn't any waiting. I mean, unless you wanted some specific like retro game to play, you might have to wait for a little while. But there was enough consoles and stuff that it wasn't completely full.
Yeah.
That there was always, you could sat down at something and played something.
We always walked up, I was there with my younger sister. I brought her this time. And we walked up just to pretty much any machine. Any music machine, any retro console. We played Smash Brothers. That was the last thing we did at the con. Before we had to leave to go home. And that was awesome. We played Smash Brothers. I
wish I had time.
I got my butt handed to me.
I wish I had time to do some gaming. I was so busy with the guests and stuff, I didn't get any time to game, but that was really cool. I'd say that was one of the coolest parts.
They also had a board game room, which Yumacon has also.
Board game and tabletop game. Tabletop game.
So tabletop game room. I would say the tabletop game room was larger here.
Oh, it was bigger. Yeah.
Far bigger than Yumacon's. Mm-hmm. And they had some great games there. They also were debuting a couple of indie games that were either Kickstarted or they're just an indie tabletop game.
Yep.
I want to give out a shout out to Island Dice. They're Kickstartering their game here in the next month or so. I sat down with him. I forgot his name. I don't have my notes on me. But check out Island Dice. You may want to Google that. And the other one, I don't remember what the other one is. I don't. I'll tell you what it was like, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it's a deck of cards, and
You're off to a good start.
yeah, it's a deck of cards.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good start.
And it's a movie game, so it's 2 movies, and they're mashed up together. So, like, it would be Beverly Hills.
I know where they got that one from.
Where's it? It's like the beginning.
You did a great job.
I'm trying to explain how it goes. It's the beginning of the title, and the last word of the title is the first word of the next movie. Does that make sense?
Yes, 'cause
yeah,
they do
sure.
it
Like
on
Beverly
Mon-
Hills RoboCop or something like that.
Yeah, Beverly Hills RoboCop would be a good one, and then
Sure.
it gives you the plot and it mashes them together, and you sort of have to guess.
They do it on Monday night, game night on Channel 4. Hollywood Game Night.
Very cool.
That's one of the ones that they
So
do.
this is a card game that they had a husband and wife team came up with, and I thought it was awesome. And she gave me one of the cards, and I'll probably go out and get it, and we'll probably talk about that more on the show when we do a highlight on board games
Right.
or tabletop games.
They did like All in the Family Affair.
Yeah, that was the kind of stuff that I was getting. And I was really good at it. I just want to point this out because there's not many things.
Really? Because
like
there'll be
that.
a version of that at Studentopia, so we'll see.
Well, I won't be at Steve.
Oh, right, that's your
You keep shoving that in my face. But Conrad will be there, and he should be good.
I'll be there.
Hopefully. Russ will be there.
You're going to be one of my guests?
I'll be a guest, sure. I'm going to be helping with guest relations at that one too, but I'm sure.
I'll tell you what. At the second one, next year's Steamtopia,
Yeah.
I'll make up for it twice.
And how are you going to do this?
I don't know. I have a year to think of it. I have a year and a month to think of it.
Well, we could.
Ask me if you
if
can
cloning
remember.
technology-
Ask me. I'll figure it out.
Really? You just said if I can remember.
If you can remember,
Okay.
I'll make it up for it twice somehow.
You never know if cloning technology progresses.
You heard it
we
here
could
first
just
on
get
the rack.
2 of you, and
Yeah, there you go.
There
Who would want that? 2 of me?
The world is not ready.
As long as it's on the radio.
I don't know if I could deal with that. Let alone the world.
Well, they told you have a face for radio, right?
Yeah, they did. I do have a face for radio. Just for all the listeners out there that have not met me, I have a face for radio.
Oh, stop! You're adorable.
Thank you. No, that's Conrad.
Dorka.
Conrad gets the adorable
Lucas
thing.
is a god.
That's right. Lucas is a god. Well, you heard it here on the rack. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out the little snippet that we got to do at MidWest Media Expo. I'd like to thank Michael Wiggins for standing in for Conrad and sharing what he got to do. I'd like to thank Russ Van Ness. You'll probably hear more of him because we didn't get to touch on his specialty. He's going to be subbing for us and also be one of our special guests for comic books. He is an amazing comic book master.
Oh,
So, artist.
I am an artist. Sure.
You are an artist. So
I
you
am
didn't
an
even tell us that you were an artist.
Well,
you just pitched that you knew comic books.
I do.
No, he's an artist.
I am an artist. I have a BFA in drawing and painting.
What?
I am probably more known in the area now. I'm a pretty well-known body painter.
Very cool.
But I'm also a huge comic book nerd, and I've
He
developed.
has an entire room just for his comic books.
I do pretty much. Yeah.
Very cool.
I call it the Vault. It's in my basement, and it's epic. It's actually, my collection is currently going through a massive restructuring, and it's taking months.
How many boxes are there?
I have around 50 long boxes. So
Wow.
It's a big, big collection. Yeah, when I bought my house, I was like, it has to be able to house my comic collection.
That's
It's-
amazing.
It's sick and it's bad and it's awful and I love it. But, but yeah, I've actually delivered, presentations in college level courses about the history of comic books.
Very cool. So we'll be bringing him back on the rack especially when we start talking about comic books.
I'm also, I am not a one-trick pony though. I'm a
no.
video game, movie, and
Absolutely.
TV nerd too. I can fill many slots.
Absolutely. But we've
And he
been looking.
has.
That's what
We've
she
been
said,
looking.
right?
We've been looking for a comic book master specifically.
Oh, right on.
That's what we've been
That
looking
is-
for.
that is
We've been.
probably my specialty.
I can start a week there.
You-
I'm trying.
You're starting on.
I'm trying.
You
I've
told me
started off with Why.
You're reading Why the Last Man.
Why, it's
That's a
amazing.
Good start.
It's because it's not superhero. I love nothing against them.
Sure.
But there's just this great story. I don't even want to get into it because this is a whole episode.
Why the Last Man is
Just touches on so
huge.
many social.
It's a fantastic. I
Issues.
could not. It's one of those things that I do recommend to people just getting into reading comics that aren't into capes and flights. Well, or flights and tights as they call it. If you want to read a great sci-fi oriented comic book story, Why the Last Man, fantastic book.
Absolutely. And when I finish it, because it's 60 something books.
Something like that, yeah.
When I finish it, I'll definitely be talking about it here on the rack. My next one, I believe, is either Guardians of the Galaxy to do some flights and tights or whatever you call it, or
Sandman's great too. Sandman is one of those ones that, again, that you recommend to somebody who's just getting into comic books, and so particularly a lot of girls like. That's a good one to give to like a girl who's not, I know to be completely misogynistic, but yeah, because it's not a Flights and Tights book. The Sandman.
Why I would say is a great one. Why?
If you need to nerd up.
If you need to nerd up your girlfriend, yes, Sandman is an excellent.
I would also
one.
say why, because
and
it's
why
about
as well, because
it's about just one guy, and the whole world is women. All the guys die except for one of them.
All the men in the world, all the males,
all the males
in the world,
even the male animals,
and
there's only females left on Earth.
Yeah, he's the only male left.
And it's really interesting. No, his monkey.
Well, and his monkey, right? Yorick is monkey.
Yeah. Anyways, we're not going to get into it.
Let's not get into it right now.
I'm not going to get into it right now. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. And if we saw you at the convention, Midwest Media Expo, thank you for coming up to us.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed us. And
I'm so glad I could be here to fill in 5 seconds of stuff.
You did more than that.
You're almost always here. The one thing you have to know is if we're broadcasting, and we are broadcasting right now from the Phoenix Cafe,
yes,
hazelpark.com. We always broadcast from here when we're not at a convention. Mike's always here with us, whether he's talking or not. So
be sure to look up the Phoenix Cafe. There's always a lot of great events and great things going on. Like tomorrow night's the live drawing session, live models.
See what Stacey drew. Yeah.
You have the Z show still going on, don't you?
Yeah.
Zombie-based art gallery.
That was really cool.
Followed by the anime art gallery.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, very cool.
Followed by the Godzilla art gallery.
Oh, really?
Very cool. So you have a great summer coming up here. You're serving Chisano coffee, which is straight out of Ferndale.
Yep.
Our neighbors.
Chazano.
Is it Hasano?
It is. It's Chazano.
They should put Oh, there's a C.
Well,
they have a C. It's not my fault.
It's supposed to be
Chazano.
Chazano because
what is it?
It's Jewish.
Is it Jewish?
Yeah, the owners are
they're not open
Jewish.
on Sunday.
So it's supposed to be pronounced like
Chazano.
Yeah,
okay, so Chazano coffee, which is really good. I've had his Chazano coffee.
Yeah, it's some of the best coffee. I don't drink coffee, but my girlfriend does, and she loves it, and it is considered some of the best coffee.
We just pitched them now too,
yeah.
But they're sold here at.
So that means when we're at fair and we're going huzzah, it's just without the coffee.
Yeah, it's not a coffee.
They serve Hazano coffee here also at the Phoenix Cafe in Hazel Park. Yeah. So check it out. Come and look at their website to see what the events that are coming up. They have some great bands coming. We'll be back next week. I don't know where yet because there's an inkling that we might show up at PenguinWaCon, but there's we might just do a live show back here at the Phoenix, and we're trying to figure out how that is. A lot of that has to do with my birthday and where I'm going to be mentally.
Man. How old are you going to be, man?
I'm going to be 33.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. You can say shit on this show.
You can't say shit on this show?
It's YouTube.
Okay. Well, I just, I didn't know yet.
You can say it.
Wow, 33.
We try to stay away from the F word, but that's about it.
Well, yeah.
So because we have young guests. Thank you.
Kids.
The one guy that showed up, that one of our guests is 14, and I do want to give a shout out to him. He needs to email me so I can plug. He was awesome at the show.
Yeah.
He sort of followed us around. He's one of our few, really committed fans. He's been emailing. Yeah, we have a groupie. He's 14. He lives down the street, just here in just north on Madison Heights. And he's like, "Oh, you're at Phoenix Cafe?
Okay.
Come on and see us." I'm going to wrap up the show. Thank you guys for coming out and sort of filling out our panel here today. We'll be back next week and we'll talk to you later. This was The Rack.